Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is finally here and in theaters now. And with it comes the answer to a question time-honored Star Wars fans have been wondering since the ending of The Last Jedi. Can J.J. Abrams save our beloved franchise one more time? I answered this question and more, delivering a spoiler-free movie review in this week's episode of Fan Art Fridays. What's good, everybody? Mr. J here, looking to help motivate and inspire you to take your art to the next level. In this week's episode, episode 28 of Fan Art Fridays, I'm going to be doing the movie review and a piece centered around Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. And like usual today, I'm going to be completing today's piece on the iPad Pro with Apple Pencil on the newly released Procreate 5. Stay tuned and subscribe if you want to see a review on that in the future. This week, let's get into this week's episode of Fan Art Fridays, episode 28, The Rise of Skywalker. Alright, The Rise of Skywalker, Disney's third episodic installment to the Star Wars franchise and the storied end to the Skywalker saga. Many of fans believe that JJ has a daunting task of reprising what he so successfully started in The Force Awakens to spark a new hope for the future of the franchise. The new cast that we have come to know all return in this story that pits them against a new but not so new foe of Emperor Palpatine. The franchise-old villain returns for more sinister monologuing and cackling to the fullest as our heroes, in their desperate aftermath from The Last Jedi, find themselves against overwhelming odds to stop him. Runtime on this movie is a comfortable 2 hours and 21 minutes, so you're not getting anything that's too short, but neither is it going to be too long. From the get-go, I think I would have really liked to see this movie carry on into the 3-hour mark. Comparing it to Avengers Endgame, which was similarly an end to an arc, but not the end of a franchise, you could really tell that within the 3 hours that Marvel wanted to have an excellent fan-worthy send-off of its heroes. And I think the extra credence given to the end was really felt and allowed to resonate within the fans. It felt like the end and a new beginning all at the same time. Without saying that I thought this movie was bad, I did feel some pacing issues that I strongly feel some additional screen time could have fixed. Some of the pacing in the first act is unavoidable as they continue to use the late Carrie Fisher's previously shot scenes. Because of her passing in the filming of The Last Jedi, all of her scenes were retooled and reworked around previously shot footage. The filmmakers vowed not to use any CGI to complete her story, something that I know that a lot of fans will appreciate. Many fans will recognize a hug that she shares with Rey as the same scene in The Force Awakens after Han's death, but just from different camera angles. While it is quite impressive that they are able to splice together these scenes to tell the story and honor Carrie Fisher's work, it becomes inescapably clear that most of the scenes with her in it were going to be short, terse, one-worded responses or long gazes without any dialogue. And it takes a toll in the very beginning because a lot of the character interaction with her in the beginning of the film creates the feeling of jumpy, inconclusive scenes very quickly and very prominently at the beginning of the movie. Compiled with the fact that there was a lot going on in the beginning of this film, a lot of location jumping, a lot of character interaction across all the new locations, new characters being established, my residual feelings of apprehension from The Last Jedi didn't quite completely fade until about halfway through the second act. In that point, the story really starts to take shape and it feels like it settles down after a rush of a start. There is definitely a lot of damage control going on with this movie, and I think that all the areas where it is lacking is the result of it. That being said, I believe that a lot of us wanted damage control to be done, so it takes a little of the edge off of it to an extent. In fact, there's a line in this movie that I interpreted as a call out to the entire last movie, and I really enjoyed that. But my worry is how well will this film age? Sitting through it for the first time, I was apprehensive at the start, like I said, and slowly that apprehension went away. But overall, I just got the vibes that this movie was an active apology for the last film. It's like they're saying, okay, look, We realized that we didn't fulfill your expectations last time out, so we're going to make up for it in this movie again and again. We get that you'd wanted to see the core characters together, so we're putting them together, an emphasis that was directly verbalized about 3 times in this film. And I think I didn't mind it the first time through because of in the moment you make rationale that it's better than the last movie. And honestly, there's so much coming at you in this movie that it's hard to process and have time to think about it, how you feel, and before the next scene is starting. So my fear is that right now, while it seems like admissible issues, over time, will they grow into larger problems as you rewatch it for the third, fourth time at home with friends and family? And that it's better than The Last Jedi feeling is completely gone. I think a lot of questions will remain after this film. There will be a lot of, well, how did we exactly get here? How did that happen? Why did they do that? Who is that? Circling back to the masterpiece of Avengers Endgame, they did a really good job of bringing a feeling of finality to the movie. There was no loose ends. Everything came to a satisfying conclusion, and we weren't left with any questions other than what's next. And that's something that I think was really whiffed on in this film. Again, Star Wars isn't finished, so we may have time yet in the future to receive some of these answers. But I really feel like with the finality that this movie heralded in advertising, we should have had a product that was more similar to Endgame instead of another episodic installment. In fact, it doesn't really even feel like the same feeling of conclusion that Revenge of the Sith had or Return of the Jedi as conclusions to their respective trilogies. It really didn't feel any kind of finality more than as a conclusion before the next episodic installment. And given that we don't know what that is, and we've heard Daisy Ridley vocalize that she's done with Star Wars after this movie, given that we don't know what to expect coming forth, I think it was really important for them to carry on the finality of this episode. Now, you're probably listening to all of that and thinking that it sounds very negative, but do not get me wrong. I enjoyed this movie. I really did. I have my issues with it, yes, but there really isn't such thing as a perfect Star Wars movie in the entirety of the franchise. They all have their flaws, and they all still manage to be beloved by the fan base, because ultimately Star Wars is about family. And I'm not just talking about the Skywalkers. I'm talking about the millions of people across the globe who could be put into the same room together as strangers for the first time and be brought together by the sound of Star Wars has the innate ability to bring people together beyond the films, to the bonds that have been forged through friendship. It has a way of bringing people together through immersive worlds, captivating, endless lore, untapped imagination. We're talking about a single series where nobody will bat an eye at a monkey man or a walking bipedal spider creature. They are about love, friendship, imagination, excitement, humor, and hubris, all balled up into one never-ending episodic story. And though not perfect, The Rise of Skywalker hits on everything that embodies a Star Wars film and makes for a good time at the movie theaters. I would definitely recommend this film to just about anybody, particularly those who love Star Wars. About the only person I wouldn't recommend this to would be the few out there who really like the changes and the directions that were taken by The Last Jedi. If you truly enjoyed that movie, there's probably not a whole lot of enjoyment in this one for you. Well, alright everybody, this will conclude my spoiler-free review. I will be doing a second spoiler review in the coming week, since it's just so hard to talk about Star Wars without addressing spoilers. So stay tuned to that, hit that subscribe button, like and share this video out with all of your Star Wars buddies. It sure would mean a lot to me. And in closure, I'm going to leave you off with my Star Wars list, favorites to least favorite, as I always know that it's an excellent talking discussion point. Go ahead and tell me your own list down in the comment section. And if you've seen the movie, go ahead and let me know what you think down below. But please make sure you have respect for those who have watched this review without having watched the movie yet, and keep it spoiler free. My favorite episode is Empire Strikes Back. Then we go into The Force Awakens, The Phantom Menace, Rogue One, The Rise of Skywalker, Attack of the Clones, A New Hope, Solo, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, and The Last Jedi brings in the rear as the only Star Wars movie I haven't liked. The others at the end of the list aren't there for any particular dislike, but because it has to have something at the bottom, they just happen to have something that I didn't like more than the others. Alright, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm Mr. J, and may the Force be with you always.